Hey everyone, I'm Peter Parsley, and tonight we open the vault to bring out the Evil Dead Trilogy. Before we get started, I just wanted to say real quick that usual Vintage Vault co-star WD Conine was not going to be in this episode. We're both just really busy with school right now and in our personal lives as well. We tried setting up a couple days where we might be able to get together, but I know I'm a junior in college, we're at the end of the semester, and it's just crazy right now. So I'm going to be doing this episode solo. Now, the first movie we need to talk about is The Evil Dead. The Evil Dead was released in 1981, and this is the movie that started it all. It stars Bruce Campbell as Ash, obviously, and Sam Raimi is the director. And this movie really was meant to be a serious film. A lot of people today think that it was made as a horror comedy, but the truth is, a lot of the funny scenes that we actually think are funny now, well, that's just because they're really dated. This movie was made for about $85,000. This is an independent film. It's gory. There's still scenes that scare me to this day. I love the film stock. I love all the low-budget effects in this movie. I have to give credit to a movie that's over 30 years old that still can put me on the edge of my seat and make me jump every once in a while. In this movie, Ash is just one of the other kids in the cabin. It isn't until 2 and 3 that we see his character arc develop. The scene that's probably most famous for everyone is the tree rape scene. Yes, for those of you who've maybe seen the other two or one of them or haven't seen any of them yet, there's a scene where a tree comes to life and rapes a woman. The Evil Dead kicks off possibly the best horror trilogy of all time. I'm going to go with an 8 out of 10. Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn, is the sequel to the first Evil Dead, but it's really more of a reboot. Ash goes back to the cabin with his girlfriend, but it's not really made out that he's going back to the cabin. It's sort of like it's happening for the first time. Even though this is sort of a reboot, Ash, by this point, is kind of a veteran. He is a little bit more confident and decisive, as opposed to the first movie where he's kind of an idiot. Evil Dead 2 is the movie that creates the vision that most people have in their head for Ash. Ripped t-shirt, shotgun over the back, hand cut off with a chainsaw on it. That's Evil Dead 2. This movie was made for about $3.5 million, and it was done outside of the studio system. This is the kind of filmmaking I like to see. Evil Dead 2 was made with a heavy dose of horror and comedy, coining the term splatstick. There are so many things I love about this film. Oh my god, where to begin? First off, all the girls in this movie are sexy. Even the redneck chick is hot. I am in love with the atmosphere of Evil Dead 2. Every time I watch this movie, I feel like I'm there, in the woods, with Ash, going against the evil presence, and all the blood and guts and everything else that comes with it. It's an immersive experience for me, and I saw this movie back when I was in middle school. It's stuck with me ever since, and it's just such an amazing picture. I love the filmmaking techniques that are on display here. I love all the stop frame animation, matte paintings, blue screens, real blood, none of that CG garbage. The guys from K.n.b Effects Group worked on this movie, and my god does it show. The creatures, the blood, all the special effects makeup, it looks amazing, and this is exactly what I want to see. I want to see visual effects artists who are forced to be creative, who have to come up with things on the spot, who have to really get down and dirty. There's a scene in the beginning where the evil chases Ash through the cabin, and it chases him from a POV shot throughout the entire cabin in one take. It's beautiful. One of my favorite shots in the movie, and every time somebody mentions Evil Dead 2, this comes to mind, is after the first 10 minutes when he decides, okay, I've had enough of this, I've been possessed by the evil, now I'm back to normal, I'm going to make a run for it. He drives back to the bridge, he gets out, and then he sees that the bridge has been pulled back by the evil. He gets out of his car and just screams. And that shot, that is such a beautiful shot in the film. Moments later, there's a shot where the sun rapidly sets right behind him, and he knows he's stuck. He's going back to the cabin, and he's going to wait it out for daylight. This is when the movie really begins. There are so many great lines in this movie. We just cut up our girlfriend with a chainsaw. Does that sound fine? Groovy. Who's laughing now? Who's laughing now? I could quote this movie all day. Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn, is, in my opinion, the best cabin in the woods film ever made. I'm gonna give this one a 9 out of 10. It's a classic, one of my all-time favorite horror films, and one of the best horror films ever made. Next up, Army of Darkness. What can I say? Army of Darkness. I actually saw this movie, I believe, when I was in 5th grade in elementary school. I think it was on TNT or something like that. Watched it from beginning to end and was just blown away by this film. I obviously then went back and watched Evil Dead 1 and 2. By this point in the series, Ash has become the ugly American, and he's judging their culture by his own culture. He's not sensitive to any of their needs or desires or any of their requests. He just wants to get back to the future. One thing I really like is how the beginning of Army of Darkness is the end of Evil Dead 2. This catches the audience up with what's happened previously, because this movie does not have Evil Dead in the title, and there's a lot of people that saw this film, like me, first, and didn't really know what the backstory was unless somebody told them. This made it a lot easier for people who were not familiar with the other films to come into this movie and be caught up like that. This movie really isn't gory. As a matter of fact, I've had conversations with people that center around why this isn't a PG-13 flick. Really, this movie should have had a PG-13 rating. I really don't understand why it received an R. Some say that has to do with Evil Dead 2 not going through the rating system and getting released without a rating, and the MPAA was really pissed at them for doing that, so they wanted to stick it to Raimi and the gang. But who knows? Considering how this movie doesn't have as much gore in it as the previous two films, I really like how in the beginning, when they throw the first guy into the pit, an enormous amount of blood comes gushing out of the pit. I believe Raimi did this because he wanted to transition out of Evil Dead 2 and into Army of Darkness. After that scene, it's all PG-13 material. Watch these two movies back to back and you'll see exactly what I'm saying. I think most people will agree with me when I say this. One of the most memorable scenes in Army of Darkness is after Ash comes out of the pit, holds up his gun and goes, "This is my boomstick!" And when he says that, the whole crowd jumps back. Of course, another great scene is when he's trying to get the book, and he has to recite the words, and he messes it up, and all the different trouble with the books occur. One of the books bites him. He gets sucked into another dimension, possibly at one point. He finally gets to the right book, doesn't say the words correctly, and all hell breaks loose. I absolutely love the end of this movie. The big battle at the castle, with Ash and his guys versus the Army of the Dead. They're just so cool. They're a bunch of life-size skeletons. Some of it's stop frame, some of them are just life-size skeletons that people are moving. And it's so cool to watch. It's pure eye candy for a guy like me. I gave this film a revisit recently and I realized I pretty much know every shot, every line of dialogue. I have seen this movie, no joke, well over 20 times. That's not an exaggeration. I remember as a kid I actually kept count, and then once I got up to around 15 or so, I didn't keep track anymore. No, but seriously, I've seen this movie between 20 and 30 times, know it like the back of my hand, and you know what? It's still a great film. Over the years, it generated a really big cult following. I remember about 5 or 6 years after I first saw it, there were Army of Darkness t-shirts and stickers on the back of people's cars that are the outline of Ash holding up the gun. It became a sensation, and if you haven't seen it, go check it out. I'm going to give Army of Darkness an 8.5 out of 10. So, Deadites, I hope you've had as much fun watching this as I've had talking about it and revisiting the films in the past few months. Tonight, we close the vault, and it will reopen next month. Thanks for watching. As always, feel free to subscribe to my channel and k.n.b's channel.
You know your shoelace is untied.
He's a 20th century guy.
For that arrogance, I shall see you dead.
Trapped in the Middle Ages.
Groovy.